Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Salt Lake City Snowhawks expansion franchise here on Madden 25. We are the champions, my friend, and we did have a nice offseason trade for defensive end Trayvon Walker, the former #1 overall pick of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Gave up a pair of second-round picks along with offensive tackle Jamie McLean, and then in the draft we would go on to trade down from 32 as the defending Super Bowl champions all the way down to 51, where we would select Joey Boss, left guard, out of Ole Miss, as he is going to replace Randy Samuels on the offensive line, the only key player we really lost in free agency. So we think this team is again ready to repeat as Super Bowl champions. This is the year 6 preseason where it all starts, the final run of this franchise. And how fitting that our first opponent here in the preseason is none other than the Kansas City Chiefs, the team we would defeat in Super Bowl 63 by a score of 28-20. As Patrick Mahomes won his 5th MVP award last season and tried to double up with his 5th Super Bowl ring, but we stood in his way and accomplished our first ever Lombardi trophy. And now we're back for more as we look to go back-to-back as we hear from Arrowhead, Brock Huard, former Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, I believe, on the call. And there is Patrick Mahomes looking to avenge last year's Super Bowl defeat. Although the Chiefs, a new-look team to this point in the franchise, they do still have Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy as their top 2 passing options, along with Isaiah Pacheco, last year's rushing leader. But a lot of fresh faces and young players elsewhere as we're now underway here in year 6 officially. Welcome back to the Salt Lake City Snowhawks expansion franchise, and welcome to one last run here, our final run, as we're here in year 6 trying to repeat as Super Bowl champions. And Patrick Mahomes not going to be out there long. I'm surprised they're even giving him any run in this game. As we said, broke the touchdown record last season. I forget what the exact mark was, maybe 54. It was like 1 or 2 more than what Peyton Manning's previous record was. But Mahomes now the single season touchdown passing leader, and he won his 5th MVP award, which I think ties Peyton Manning for most all time, if I'm not mistaken. First give there for Isaiah Pacheco, a big lane opens up. And we are starting with a lot of our reserves out there. It looks like Kansas City has some starters out there, as Isaiah Pacheco already getting feisty as he is salty about last year's Super Bowl loss. Now here on 2nd and 1, they're going to go direct snap to Pacheco as he runs right through the lane, and he has another nice gain. 19 yards already on 2 carries. And we are at just 8-minute quarters here in the preseason, opposed to, I think we were doing 14 in the regular season. Another give here for Pacheco. They'll just give it to him every time, it seems, as Dale Gilmore getting the stop there after a 4-yard gain. Defensively, we did lose Jonathan Grenard and Kwity Paye at defensive end as they worked into our rotation, but we have upgraded with Trayvon Walker, but probably not going to see him at all in this game. And that's another player there. I think Randy Fisher, I'm sorry, that's actually LaRon Brown, rookie out of Alabama, 3rd-round pick, as he makes the stop there against the run. And now 3rd and 3. Brown out of Alabama, a former 5-star recruit. Now Mahomes from the pocket on 3rd down over the middle has a man open, and that is going to be the first down as he broke that initial tackle. I think that's Andrew Williams, former 2nd-round pick, who has been the 3rd string behind Rashee Rice and Xavier Worthy in the receiving core. And now Mahomes into enemy territory, 5 minutes left in this first quarter. Mahomes from the 50 has a man open. That's Rashee Rice. He has, I think, 82 touchdown receptions over the course of this franchise. That is just absurd production. And now 2nd and 3. And I was hoping to get the offense out there here in the first quarter, because after the first, it does change your starters into the backups. We already have our backups out there, so we'll then go to our 3rd and 4th stringers for the remainder of the game. But we are going to do some editing ourselves and get as many players out there as we can in this week 1 game. And it's a great tackle by Captain Jerry Sexton as he diagnosed that run lane all the way. And we're not going to watch the entire game here, especially not, weeks 2 and 3 of the preseason. We're going to try and get out of here quickly, as that's going to be a sack. Dale Gilmore on the safety blitz as he welcomes Mahomes back for another season. A hard hit. Mahomes not expecting that. Dale Gilmore now his 3rd season, I believe, out of Tennessee. The former 1st-round pick really needs to step it up a little bit this year, alongside Matthew Torrance as our safety tandem. One of the best young safety duos in the league, but Gilmore now going to have that 5th-year option. We'll have to make a decision on if we want to exercise that or not. Now here on 3rd and a mile, they'll go on the screen for Pacheco, and he gets a bunch back 13 yards. And that's going to be Malik Mustafa going downhill and making a stop off the block, as that'll bring Harrison Butker out for the 43-yard field goal attempt from the right hash here to get Kansas City on the board, as that is up, and that is good. And the Chiefs get points on the opening drive of the preseason. And correction, that's actually Joshua Cardi, the former Salt Lake City Snowhawk place kicker. He was cut mid-season during our NFC Championship run going back to year 4. and now finds himself here in Kansas City. And there's Jerry Hardison, the rookie, on the kick return, 99 speed. We drafted him in the 5th round out of Georgia. 99 speed, 99 agility, 97 acceleration, I believe the ratings, as he's a straight-up Olympian sprinter. And Chris Woodard going to get the start here now. I believe his 4th year with the Snowhawks. We drafted him in the 5th round back in year 2 or year 3. And he is battling for a backup spot. We brought in Sam Darnold, the seasoned veteran. And we also signed Rashawn Rice, former 2nd-round pick, who was a free agent prior to preseason. Now, Dre Patton on the end around there as he gets a little pop pass, and he works across midfield. Dre Patton, the former 5th-round pick, his 2nd year out of Butler. He made a big impact as our kick returner last season, but probably going to be the job now of Jerry Hardison as Chris Woodard working back in the pocket, going to throw it away. Trent McDuffie still the top corner for this Kansas City Chiefs team, I believe at 99 overall. Now on 2nd down, going to the ground game here for Vince Willis, the 3rd-year man now for the Snowhawks. He gets the 1st down. Vince Willis, a former 2nd-round pick of the Chicago Bears, but was cut, I believe, in his 2nd season. He would join our team and then be kind of a key piece offensively for us during that first playoff run where we would win the NFC Championship. Leo Chenal, another top defender on this Kansas City team, as now here into the final seconds already of this first quarter of play. 2nd and 7. Woodard. Again, really nothing open, just backtracking, takes a hit there from Larry Fowler and does get rid of it. Larry Fowler, number 99, one of the best D tackles in all of the NFL, along with our very own Caleb Patton, who we signed to a franchise tag. Now 3rd and 7 going across his body as that one goes incomplete, so it's going to bring on a 52-yard field goal attempt for Will Reichard. We brought him back on a 1-year deal, $5 million, and it was definitely worth it, I think, as he excelled last season as that went up and good from deep. And we tied up here the final play of the first quarter, 3-all, as we're reigning Super Bowl champions here, starting off in the preseason, and we're trying to repeat, go back-to-back, and solidify ourselves as a NFL dynasty. But of course, we have to put in the groundwork here first in the preseason and solidify this 53-man roster, which, of course, we have most of our key pieces in place from last year. But that's not to say we're going to have a lot of new faces on the roster, especially in depth roles, as we work up some of our younger guys who have worked up through the practice squad. And we did have a bunch of draft picks this last draft, 9 draft picks, none of which came in the first round after a trade down. And now we're going to go to the backup here. I think that's Tyler Walker, the 4th-year backup now for the Kansas City Chiefs, former 5th-round pick out of San Jose State. He has developed nicely into a 76 overall, and there are rumblings that a team that needs a quarterback might make a move for him, but we'll see how he puts out the tape here in the preseason as they go a 6-yard gain on the ground. Now at this point, we'll watch one more drive aside. We have some new players out there, and then we'll get to some simulation. And Walker, now being chased, does finally get rid of it, and I think that was Corey Wilson, last year's undrafted free agent addition out of Florida. He spent the year on the practice squad, getting the early pressure in this game. Walker, a wide open man. That's going past the 30 now. A huge stiff arm there. That's Tip Ryman, the former Snowhawk. He spent the first 3 or 4 years as our backup tight end in this franchise. And now a big play there in the preseason, getting back at us and showing some great physicality as he shoved the man off him. And now Walker on another drop back as he hits a man, that one for 7. Tyler Walker, one of the better backup quarterbacks in the league right now, still young. Maybe a starting job ahead of him. Now here on 2nd and 3. And he will fake it as he's going to roll to the right now across his body, and we'll get rid of it. 3rd and short now at the 19-yard line. Walker, another drop back. Time to throw in the pocket, but now flushed out as he does fire that downfield, but again out of bounds, which will bring up another field goal attempt. I stand corrected. They're actually going to play it aggressive here and go for it on 4th and 3 inside the red zone. That's what the preseason's all about. As they go direct snap again, and again it works out to their favor as that picks up 5 in the first. Just catching us on our heels there on those direct snaps to the running back. Good gain, especially that first one at Pacheco, and they go back to the ground game here, and that's a strong tackle, no gain. And that's Damian Simmons, I believe, 7th-round pick from last year's class out of Ole Miss, vying for a reserve linebacker role on this year's team, and a very good tackle there again against the run. That's going to be Calhoun, undrafted free agent, I believe we signed him. No, he was actually an addition in free agency. Brought him in on a low-risk 1-year deal as he's trying to beat out Dom Gilmore at the left end spot for the backup position. As Corey Wilson, again, they're barging through the offensive line and getting the hit on the quarterback. Corey Wilson looking dominant so far at D tackle. Might have to get him on the 53-man roster as our number 4 guy, maybe even our number 3 if the production is there, as Joshua Carty again hits a field goal. And now just 4:04 left in the first half. We're going to watch one more drive and then probably simulate the entirety of the third quarter and then see where we're standing there in the fourth as we get that return to the 26-yard line. There's Rashawn Rice, former second-round pick out of Purdue. He was drafted by the Carolina Panthers, but has since been buried on the depth chart, and they just outright cut him. Now in his third season, trying to keep his NFL journey going. Going to keep it there on the read option as he finds a lane. Rashawn Rice now as he works up for 15, and that is one of his calling cards. He does have 99 throw power, but he can also run it a little bit. Reminds you of someone like Cardell Jones or something like that with similar stature. And now going to the ground game, that's going to get 4. And that was 4th-round pick Dwayne Gordon, 5'10", 234 pounds out of South Dakota State. Drafted him in the 4th round. And then their number 2, Allen Cummings, our rookie tight end in motion, 7th-round pick who came back with hidden development. And now Rashawn Rice trying to go back the other way, and he'll go backwards instead as he's sacked, helped up there by Hardy as they're drawing it up. And that's going to bring us back 3rd and 14. Rashawn Hardy, a reserve defensive lineman from last year's Chiefs team, and making an impact here early on. Now 3rd and 14 backed up to the 37. And there goes Roosevelt Howell, rookie tight end in motion, number 85, 3rd-round pick out of Ohio State. As Rashawn Rice going to throw that into triple coverage, trying to dump that in for Jerry Hardison, the rookie out of Georgia, as that falls incomplete. And now with less than 2 minutes here in the second quarter, we will just sim ahead and see how our defense does on this 2-minute drill against Kansas City, as they're now 3rd and 5, and they get 15 yards there on the completion as Tyler Walker continuing to have a good game. Another completion there to Tip Ryman, and they get 11 yards for Jacoby Caldwell. Just 20 seconds now left in the half as they're now at the doorstep, 1st and goal at the 7, and they end up with no points there, so a glitch in the system there, or maybe just poor time management as our offense out there to start the third quarter. And we'll get 2 yards for Will Nichols, a former undrafted free agent out of Miami. 3rd and 8, and we only get 2 yards there for Dwayne Gordon. So we're going to start this half with a punt as Kansas City now at their own 7. And they go back 3, so 2nd and 13 at the 4. Get 8-yard rush, a lot of breathing room. Now 3rd and 6, let's hit the stop, and we do not, as that's another completion for Jacoby Caldwell. 2nd and 10 at the 22, 5 yards for Walker. Now 3rd down, and they go incomplete. So our offense is back out there as we'll take over at the 31. We'll watch one more drive offensively and then probably change up our personnel and then maybe watch one more defensive drive towards the end of the game. We want to see Roosevelt Howell make an impact, number 85, 3rd-round pick out of Ohio State, as Rice again going to face some pressure, throws it away, takes a hit. Dwayne Gordon is the back again, rookie running back out of South Dakota State. What is that, the Jackrabbits, if I'm not mistaken? Love their color scheme. Delay give to him up the middle, as he will take that for 7. And after this season with the Snowhawks, we are going to start up a brand new expansion franchise on Madden 27. And I think I already have the team name in mind and the team that we're going to be replacing as Rashawn Rice across his body, trying to get rid of that under duress. And that goes incomplete. Not a bad throw across his body, though. Number 83, trying to think of who that is. One of our UDFAs probably. As, again, going to bring out the punt team. And I think we're going to go back to Chris Woodard. Wanted to get him a little more snaps here as he's trying to beat out Sam Darnold for a backup quarterback spot. Good coverage there on special teams as Tyler Walker back out there for the Chiefs offense. And there was a glitch. We forced a turnover, and then I tried to change some personnel, and it just jumped us right back into the game. So that was Calhoun got a sack to force a fumble, and it was recovered, I believe, by Jamal Hill as our defense finally, does something there to force a turnover, get some energy back into the team. And it's undrafted free agent Richard Thomas kind of shoving Rashawn Rice there. That was an interesting development. You don't like to see that in the preseason. Now on 2nd down, go back to the ground game for Will Nichols, and he gets 3. So it looks like we are going to be forced to endure the remainder of this game with the personnel we already have out there. 3rd and 8 at the 38. Rashawn Rice another drop back as he goes for a man over the middle. I don't know if he's even had a completion really beyond the line of scrimmage in this game. A 55-yard field goal attempt now for Todd Hayes. He spent last year on the practice squad from deep, and that one is wide right, I believe. And that was actually Will Reichard still out there. I don't know why they wouldn't change our kicker. And that one looked to be wide right, maybe just short. And we want to see Will Reichard, our $5 million kicker, making those with just 12 seconds now in the third quarter, as it's 6-3, and we'll get a flag on the play. And I also forgot to mention that Andy Reid retired, of course, a Hall of Fame coach, and he was succeeded by Dan Quinn, our former defensive coordinator, as he won a ring with us, and he is now coaching the opposition as they're leading 6-3 heading into the fourth quarter. our offense has done much of nothing in this game. Rashawn Rice flashing despite, being just held in check. But you can see the physical traits are there. I don't know if the mental ability so much. And you see Calhoun there on the sack to force the fumble, which we were hoping to prove to be a turning point in this game, but instead it resulted in a missed field goal. And we are now trailing as the Chiefs have the ball. 2nd and 9 to start the 4th quarter. And we probably will skip ahead. I don't know if I'm going to leave everything in the edited cut, as that's Calhoun again breaking in on the quarterback. And it looks like an upper body injury there for Walker as he absorbed a huge hit. I believe that's Cody Calhoun, a former draft pick of the Vegas Raiders, I want to say. And he's now showing out with 2 sacks in this game as the Chiefs on the 3rd string quarterback. And welcome to the game as he's brought down for a sack, a combo sack there. Alfonso Truman and 5th round pick Cam Graham, the Buck Buchanan Award winner as the top FCS defender at that level last season at Penn, the former Quaker, getting in on his first sack at the professional level, albeit in the preseason. But another big impact play from our defense as we forced a fumble earlier, another sack as we have 4 in this game, but we need to get some points offensively. We go fair catch on the punt, and Rashawn Rice still going to be out there. I don't know how much more we're going to play him in the preseason if he can't show any rhythm or poise on this drive. As he will fake it there to the running back. Going to set and throw down the field, showing off that 99 arm strength, but that one incomplete. Only 65 yards of total offense in this game, 9 passing for Salt Lake City. Again, play action as Rice again going to be flushed, and he will be brought down for the sack. That's Chad Johnson, not Chad Ochocinco, but Chad Nueve Cuatro in on the sack. And a lot of talking in this game between both sides. Even we had some internally with one of our tackles talking to our quarterback. As now another drop back for Rice, and we'll just fling that incomplete. Takes a big hit as we were forced to punt, and the Chiefs will take over at the 34. The 3rd string quarterback now going to check it down, almost intercepted, as that was Beekman, Kenny Beekman, 5th round rookie out of Georgia, as he was undercutting on that one, but couldn't hang on. That might have been pick 6 the other way to put us on top. But the Chiefs still with the ball. They go to the ground game now as Dakota Michaels, 1st round pick from last year, in on the tackle, And now 3rd down, Kansas City. And again, I'm not sure why Dakota Michaels is out there still at this point of the game. Now a drop back for Kansas City, and he'll be brought down for the sack. Another sack, and again, that's Cam Graham. He tore it up at the FCS level with 12.5 sacks. We drafted him. He came back as a bad draft pick. It was like 100 spots above where he was ranked in the class, but, I mean, showing out already a pair of sacks in his first game. And now we're going to go back to Rashawn Rice. It's been painful, but hopefully he can ease some of the pain and get us some points here to take the late lead. 5:08 left here, week 1 of our year 6 preseason. As Rice goes to Dwayne Gordon, he gets 2. Again, that was Chad Johnson in on the run stop. Now 2nd and 8, Rice on the drop back, 4-man rush. He goes down the field. Can he complete this one? He does not, in the hands of his intended target. That's Rashawn Parson, undrafted free agent out of Cal, 6'4" frame, and he can't hang on to that one. Now 3rd down again, 4:31 remaining. Roosevelt Howell, the man in motion, 6'6", 275-pound tight end out of The Ohio State, and shot out of a cannon that time on the blitz is Stan Snowden as he brings down Rashawn Rice. Another sack in this game as the backup pass protection has not held up for either side. Now less than 4 minutes in this contest. A good punt there from Logan Cook, assuming they didn't go to our backup punter. And again, the Chiefs offense back out there. Less than 4 minutes left. There's 6-3 as there has been no offense in this game for either side, really. Now 1st down as the quarterback will keep it. I think that's Mac Jones, if I'm not mistaken, as he might have been a late camp addition for the Kansas City Chiefs. So at this point, really a 4-minute drill for the Chiefs, just trying to bleed the clock. They don't want to get the ball back into the hands of Rashawn Rice, although maybe they do based on the way he's played. I don't know if he has a single completion. I could be wrong on that, but the numbers definitely are not good, and maybe we're seeing why the Carolina Panthers were so hasty in cutting him despite being a high draft pick. But that just goes to show the physical abilities do not always equate to success on the field. The mental game has a huge part to do with it, which can often be understated. Now on 3rd and short, the Chiefs get a much-needed 1st down conversion, and the Snowhawks are going to start calling some timeouts. And the Chiefs would showcase some great ground attack here towards the end of the game, bleed out the clock, as they're now on for one more field goal attempt, this one from 40 yards. That one up and good, so the Chiefs are going to take us down here 9-3 in week 1 of the year 6 preseason. But we, of course, had the bigger win in the Super Bowl. We'll let them have this one as they get back on the right track. Patrick Mahomes again going to lead this team, as Rashawn Rice did not have it, and I don't think he has a roster spot either. Next game, we're going to bring out Sam Darnold for the first half and then go to Chris Woodard, as that's our real backup quarterback competition. In this first game, you don't want to get too many starters, even, key backups on the field, but we are going to take more of an approach there, showcase some more impact players. But Cam Graham, Calhoun on defense leading the charge, but offensively really no one of note. But hopefully that changes in week 2 as we showcase a better quarterback out there. We'll have more rapport and more rhythm as we move into week 2 of the preseason. And that now brings us to Miami, where we're going to be facing the Miami Dolphins that come off a 6-11 season. Tua Tagovailoa is still the quarterback here. They still have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in the receiving core, along with Jerry Gilmore, a former first-round pick, a speedster who can take the top off the defense. Damon Curley, a 6'6", 270-pound tight end, is the starter, as we have a rainy day here from Hard Rock Stadium, and hopefully we can shed some sunshine on what was a poor Week 1 performance. But we're going to have some more impact players there. You see number 12, Drew Collins, who is expected to take on a much larger role this year. We lost Dontavion Wicks in free agency, and Drew Collins now entering his 3rd season, former 3rd-round pick at Texas A&M. We're hoping he can secure that slot receiver spot, playing alongside Marvin Harrison Jr. and last year's Offensive Player of the Year in Carlos Alvarez. Dolphins are 1-0 as we are now underway here from week 2 of our year 6 preseason. And like I said, the Dolphins did win in week 1 of the preseason, trying to get back on the right track. It's been a pretty poor performance over the course of this franchise for them. They did win a wild card spot back in year 1 with a 10-7 record, but have since missed the playoffs in the ensuing 4 seasons, as the AFC East has been predominantly, of course, the Buffalo Bills, and even the Jets had a 14-3 season back in year 1, as I think they made it as far as the AFC Championship game, if I'm not mistaken, as we are, like I said, a raining day here. Tua Tagovailoa, Devon Achane, still the key guys here for Miami. Is the first play, we're going to send the blitz there to Sean Gross, the 30-year linebacker out of Arizona State, getting in on the sack, and just like that, looks like Tua a little shaken up, but does get back up to his feet, as Achane could not pick up that blitz, and we get a 10-yard loss on the first play. You'd love to see that. Kyle Calhoun, number 49, at left and the bottom of our defensive line. 2 sacks in the opening game. He gets there, the pressure, showcasing some good pull move there, converting speed to power and getting the quarterback hit against Tua, as he is, at this rate, definitely going to end up on the 53-man roster. Now here on 3rd and 20, as Braylon Trice getting pressure as he gives chase against Tua, who does scramble for 7, but will be far short of the first down. And our defense, a great defensive stand here on the opening drive as we force the punt. But it all comes down to our offense having a much improved performance in this game, as Jerry Hardison there in on the fair catch. And there is Sam Darnold, the former first-round pick of the New York Jets, has now found his way with our Salt Lake City Snowhawks. Now I believe 32 years old it is, but only a 74 overall, has seen some regression. He did start with Seattle, but did not stick there, as they would go on to select quarterback Byron Snow first overall a few years back. And we'll start here. A gift for Vince Willis goes for 4. But the Seahawks would move on from Darnold after selecting Byron Snow, number 1 overall, quarterback out of LSU, who we believe is a future MVP. And off the play action, Darnold going deep down the field as he hits a man in the hands there. I think that's Eddie Matthews, another reserve wide receiver, 6'6", 210 pounds out of Oklahoma State with 90-plus speed. And that one in the hands, maybe a little slick here today. And what a shot there from Darnold, as now going through his progressions, finds a man at the sideline, and that's the aforementioned Drew Collins. He's set for his first starting role as a part of our Snowhawks team, former 3rd-round pick. I think only like 3 to 5 career catches to this point, but up to a 77 overall. We think he can translate well on this offense and over the middle of the field. That's Roosevelt Howell, his first catch after being selected in the 3rd round, barging down the field, and we're hoping he showcases that ability a lot this season, as he's going to be backing up Mark Andrews and hopefully can be groomed into our starter as in his 2nd season. Now go back to the ground game here. Rookie Dwayne Gordon cutting a little bit, gets 2. Thanks. Sam Darnold looking really good here on just a few dropbacks. Maybe he's trying to get the starting role. He doesn't want to be the backup. And now rolling to the right, will fire that out of bounds. But of course, Lucas McDonald, now one of the best quarterbacks in all of football, up to a 90+ overall X factor. Also 90+ speed, just a dynamic athlete we have there at quarterback. And speaking of dynamic athletes, look at Sam Darnold taking off as he was going through his progressions again, showcasing some great pocket presence and patience there, but still can get the job done with his legs. As we are set here at the 21, another drop back for Darnold, going to the near sideline, and again hooks up with Drew Collins. Nice 7-yard completion there at the sideline. Now 2nd and 3. Again, Darnold from the pocket will dump that over for Dwayne Gordon up the sideline, as he will barge through that tackle, or at least get the first down. And that'll go down to the 11 now. This is what we wanted to see. We did not see any of this in week 1. And now Darnold, clean pocket on a 4-man rush, has a man open again. That's Drew Collins, his 3rd catch of the drive. As that gives him now 30 receiving yards. 2nd and 2, Dwayne Gordon, the 5'10", 230-pound back in the backfield. We'll see if he gets a spot here. We go for the pass, though, as Darnold rolling to the right and not going to be able to get rid of it as he takes a huge sack. That's Paschal, and I'm not sure why or how you just don't get rid of it in that situation. Just dug ourselves deeper, and now 3rd and a mile. Over the middle of the field, that's a touchdown for Eddie Matthews, and this is what we want to see from him, being that red zone target with that 6'6" frame. He stood out in his rookie preseason going a couple years back, a little silent last year, but now making his presence felt as Darnold slinging it all over the field. Eddie Matthews, a touchdown, had a big target down the field earlier on the drive, which was in his hands, but did not go for the completion. And this time does find the touchdown. Drew Collins, 3 catches as well, as that extra point up and good, as we're now leading 7-0. What a drive there led by Sam Darnold. 12 plays, 74 yards. And we'll see if our defense can replicate last drive's result as we force the 3 and out. This is what we wanted to see. Not so much of what happened in week 1, although a nice kick return there from Tyreek Hill. He works it up to the 36. We'll watch one more drive aside here, then simulate probably the remainder of the half. And now Tua on another drop back has a man open. That's Damon Curley, I believe, the tight end out of Arizona State. As that goes for, I'm sorry, that's actually Jerry Gilmore, the aforementioned receiver. The speedster gets 8 there, accompanied here with Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. A very good dynamic receiving core, although Tyreek Hill, a little bit older now, has regressed a little bit. And Tua off the rollout does hit a man there at the sideline. Great catch. And again, that's Gilmore. That takes us now into the final 30 seconds of this first quarter. Tua directly under center, man in motion, goes back the other way. That's Tyreek Hill now for Devon Achane as he finds a lane, hits it, and he is tackled after 6. Now to start the second quarter, it's going to be 2nd and 4, as I think each side going to play the starters for the first half in this game. Damon Curley there out wide now, motions back into the backfield as Tua takes a snap, pump fake over the middle there, finds Tyreek Hill towards the sideline as he's wrapped up, but does get the first down out to the 21. Fresh set for the Dolphins, trying to tie this one up. Waddle now in motion as the play clock winding down. Tua does get the snap, though, as he gives to Achane. He's hit hard there by Braylon Trice, just straight up pursuit there, and met his target as he's really trying to step up now into our 3rd pass rusher. Last year, of course, we had Jonathan Grenard, Kwity Paye, and rookie Taylor Goddard, who made up our primary rotation. Trice often an afterthought there, but I think now with just Walker and now Goddard, he is going to have to be the 3rd guy, as there off the edge Calhoun was beat, but Mustafa there to clean it up and force now the 3rd and 11. And we actually are just going to simulate the remainder of the half here, I believe, after this Miami drive. And now Tua is stepping up as the edges collapsed on him, and he's going to dive all the way into the touchdown. Wow, the interior pressure was not really there, but it was breaking in from the outside, and he just took what was given to him, ran it all the way up into the end zone, and the Dolphins tie it up here. You saw Braylon Trice, Calhoun working off the edge there, but could not be met by, I think that was Randy Fisher or maybe Corey Wilson, also there trying to get the stop. But Tua gets the best of us that time, as it'll be knotted up here pending the extra point. And I would like to see Sam Darnold out there again, but we're going to just try and work through this preseason a little bit quicker, and we want to see our reserves in this game as well. So we'll probably just work it to the second half and see if our offense can again replicate what they did as our defense was unable to. Now our first play, 10 yards there for Eddie Matthews, fresh off a touchdown. And then 14 yards for Roosevelt Howell, his 2nd catch of the game. And then we get 2 yards on the ground for Dwayne Gordon. 6 yards for Drew Collins, now 4 catches for him. And on 3rd and short, Sam Darnold again going to scramble for the first. A fresh set at the 33. A first catch there for Alan Cummings, our 7th round tight end, who came back with hidden development. And now on 3rd and 5, we get 12 yards for Roosevelt Howell, his 2nd catch of the drive. 2 yards on the ground for Gordon, 4 yards there. Now 3rd and 4 at the 9-yard line. As we get the touchdown, I did not see how it was scored because it was there at the 2-minute warning. Sometimes glitches out, but I think it was a pass. It looks like it was a 9-yard pass, but I'm just not sure who it was to. We'll check out the box score at the end, as now we'll simulate this probably last defensive drive. As 16 yards there for Jalen Waddle of the first half, that is. And now Tua getting some good completions, but he's picked off there by Dakota Michaels. And we force the turnover and now take over at Miami's 41-yard line. Our own 41-yard line. A chance to pour it on, although we do go back. Chop Robinson, a sack to force 3rd and 17. We'll see how we play it. We just go conservative on the ground, and we'll just take this lead into halftime as DJ Rubin, the undrafted punter, does get a nice one there inside the 5. And that does take us into halftime as Miami here to kick it off to us, leading 14-7. 2 passing touchdowns in that first half from Sam Darnold. Our defense had some impact plays, some sacks, including a interception there by second-year man Dakota Michaels. And there's going to be Chris Woodard battling for that backup quarterback spot, but it might just be for Sam Darnold with the way he came out and slung it all over the field. Just looked so composed and calm and led 2 touchdown drives, getting really all our receivers that we wanted to see involved. And we'll see if Woodard can do that as Miami sends the blitz, and he is taken aback 8 yards as that's Gibbs getting home on the blitz, as Miami playing it aggressive defensively here to start the second half, and that forces us back. Now 2nd and 18. Woodard will just give now for Manny Reynolds as he breaks the initial tackle, gets head for 4. 3rd and 14 now at the 20. Again, Miami sending the blitz, and Woodard not identifying it as he just backtracks again. And that's going to be Hyde this time getting home. And Miami forcing 2 big sacks. 4th and 26. And that's going to be DJ Rubin, again, punting from his own end zone. Last time he did pin Miami inside the 5, and that time gets it deep down the field. Good coverage, but Miami good field position starting at the 39. Dolphins now onto their reserve offensive players. I think the quarterback, Bob Dale, if I'm not mistaken there. They do have a bunch of quarterbacks on the roster, though, as the first drop back that time. Corey Wilson was very disruptive in that first game. I think going to split a sack there. I'm not sure who it was coming off the opposite edge. Maybe Alfonso Truman. It looked like both of them got home. Now 2nd and 15. Going to be a bunch of sacks with these reserve offensive linemen out there. They do go for the ground game as that gets 3 back. Seth Phillips, number 45, 7th round pick out of Ohio State. Now his 3rd season, spent his first 2 on the practice squad. Now trying to end up on the 53-man roster as Miami go on the screen there. And they almost get the first down. Going to be 4th and 1 at the 30. And as expected here in the preseason, Miami going to play it aggressive, trying to go for a touchdown, not the field goal on this drive. As they do fake it, they're going to dump it off. And they do get the conversion there. A short completion there for Shaw. That was the undrafted free agent target we were looking at, but Miami snatched him up there in the 6th round, I believe. Tight end out of San Diego State, going to be the backup here on this Miami team behind Damon Curley. 2nd and 8 now at the 27. As man in motion for Miami, they do fake it now on the play action. Dale going near sideline as that's caught, hauled in, and that'll go for the first down at the sideline. Good pitch and catch there to get Miami into the red zone, and a fresh set at that. And that time going to be knocked down. And that is Seth Phillips. Collins. I'm not sure who that is. Number 25, Collins on defense. And that's actually Zaven Collins. I totally forgot we signed him in free agency. I was not expecting him to be on the field in this stage of the game. And now off the play action, 3rd and 8, rolling to the right. That's going to be a sack. And that's going to force them a 4th down. Another sack for this defense. And I think that's rookie LaRon Brown out of Alabama, who we talked about a little bit in that first game. 93rd overall pick, former member of the Crimson Tide. And that is yet another sack for our defense, forcing it back to the 20. The 37-yard field goal up and good, as it's now a 14-10 game here from Miami. We'll now go back to the sim here, sim another drive aside, and then probably finish out the remainder as we work into the 4th quarter. Manny Reynolds, 4 yards on the ground, 7 yards for Will Nichols, as he's figuring to be maybe our primary pass-catching back. We'll see how it goes. 2nd and 6, and we got another 4 for Manny Reynolds. 3rd and 2. And we get 7 yards for Will Nichols, just really splitting between Nichols and Reynolds now at this point. But then 10 yards for Alan Cummings, the rookie tight end, 2nd and 7, and we get 10 yards again for Allen Cummings. Now into the red zone. 5 yards for Manny Reynolds, incomplete, which brings up now 3rd and 5. And we get that completion there for Manny Reynolds, not known for his pass-catching ability, but he moves the chains there. 5-yard scramble for Woodard down to the 3-yard line, incompletion. 3rd and goal at the 3, and we get the touchdown pass there for undrafted free agent Aaron Verdon. And that makes it now a 2-possession lead late for our Snowhawks. And we'll now go back to defense here, watch the remainder of this game with just 3:58 remaining as we try and get out of this one with our first preseason victory here in year 6. Now on the drop back for Dale as he throws behind a man. So Chris Woodard there getting the touchdown pass as Sam Darnold ended up with 2. We got to see who that second one was to, though, as Dale finds a man there again. A short completion going to bring up 3rd and 5. Dakota Michaels again here playing late in the game. Been all over the field for us, figuring to be another impact player here in year 2 of his career, as Dale there just maneuvering in the pocket, really nowhere to go. I'm not sure what that was. That is like, I think again, LaRon Brown, the rookie, getting home for the sack. Really trying to establish himself as our 3rd D tackle behind Caleb Patton and Randy Fisher, as Dale going to find an open man there on 4th and 13 as their pulse was fading, but now energized a little bit. First down inside enemy territory going on the play action as Dale will just throw it away. 2nd down at the 44, 4-man rush for Salt Lake City. As a big hit there coming off the edge was Cam Graham. 2 sacks in week 1. That time a devastating blow on the quarterback as he gets the pressure and the quarterback hit. 3rd and 10. From the logo, Dale over the middle, wide open man. It is caught short of the line to gain, so going to bring up 4th and 2. And of course, they're going to keep the offense back out there as we approach the 2-minute warning. Got to get this one to keep yourselves alive. Here's Dale going deep down the field, and that's knocked down. And that's Jalen Thompson, the veteran safety, who spent the first 5 years of this expansion franchise with our Snowhawks. He became a free agent, and prior to the preseason was still hanging around, so we figured we'd bring him back. A very good veteran presence he has been on this team, and we wanted to keep him at part of our culture, and so he can pay as a good mentor for a lot of the younger players on this team. Now fullback Charles Porter checks in, imposing blocker out of Florida. As we go back for Manny Reynolds, had 1 on 1st down, gets another 3 there on 2nd down, as Miami calls their first timeout. 9 3rd down conversions for the Snowhawks, just 1 for the Dolphins in this game. 3rd and 6, Woodard on the drop back, time to throw as he gets a man open. Again, that's Manny Reynolds. He breaks through the first tackle, and that's going to be a nice gain. Reynolds, his 2nd big catch of the day. Both have moved the chains. And again, we'll get Charles Porter there at fullback, Mr. Irrelevant. Was drafted 224 overall. We go back on the ground game. I think that was Sean James that time, as he gets 4, and the Dolphins call their final timeout. So we could probably just get another 1st down and call it a day here, take to the victory formation. But we will go back for Reynolds there on a counter as he picks up nothing. Now 3rd and 6, you wonder if they run it just to keep the clock moving or if we pass it trying to get the 1st down. I would probably just run it here with only a minute, but they are going to throw it. Chris Woodard does have a man open, but that is dropped after a big hit. The intended target there was Dre Patton, our 5th-round pick from last year out of Butler, and now a 55-yard field goal attempt for Todd Hayes. Spent last year on the practice squad, former UDFA out of Oregon, and that one is wide right, as we are struggling to nail these deep shots in preseason, but I guess that is what it's for, as that one wide right. Now less than a minute here for the Dolphins, no timeouts. A sack would be devastating for them, as that would allow a lot of clock to run off. And they go play action here. Dale again, going to fire it down the field, has a man in stride towards the sideline. A tackle there, I think, by Kenny Beekman. Inbounds does keep the clock rolling. Now less than 30 seconds as they're here at the 22. Dale near sideline, that's dropped. Maybe for the better there, honestly, because if you're tackled inbounds, that might have been the last play after you're running back to get set. Maybe one more time for one more play after that, but I don't know after that, as Alfonso Truman in pursuit brings down Bob Dale, and that's going to do it here for Miami as our Salt Lake City Snowhawks take it 21-10, our first victory here in this year 6 preseason. And, going back to year 5 and year 4, we were undefeated both of those years in the preseason. Of course, we lost week 1, but back in the win column as a very good showing offensively, which is very much what we wanted to see between Chris Woodard and Sam Darnold battling for our backup quarterback spot. But Sam Darnold was just slinging it all over, showing great composure. And, he might still be able to be a starting quarterback not so much based on that 74 overall, but what he was doing in this game was just very, very impressive. And I think he might have that quarterback 2 spot here in his age 32 season. But one more week now of this year 3 preseason before we start getting into our cuts and finalizing our 53-man roster, who is going to rise to the occasion now with one more chance to show what they can do. As we are now here in Pittsburgh to close out the preseason, Lucas McDonald will make his preseason debut, and he's definitely up for an MVP award this season, one of the favorites entering year 6, as he's now onto his fifth NFL season, and last year we did have to pick up that 5th-year option. He's now a $50 million quarterback, and we are going to have to work on extending him long-term as the face of this franchise. But before that, we have to close out this preseason, this Pittsburgh Steelers 2-0, over the course here, as we're 1-1 trying to close out strong, and the Steelers here looking to pick it up as they have been, mediocrity has been the status quo. They're on a new regime now as they finally elected to move on from Mike Tomlin after back-to-back 8 and 9 seasons. Justin Fields is still the quarterback, and maybe that's a big reason why they have yet to eclipse postseason status over the course of this franchise. 5 straight years of missing out, and we'll see if they can break through this year as we are now underway here in the final week of this year 6 preseason. Our defending Super Bowl champion Salt Lake City Snowhawks trying to close out strong here from Steel City, as the Steelers will start at the 31-yard line. Justin Fields still the quarterback now on his 5th season as the man here in Pittsburgh, and they did bring in Darren Anderson, former first-round pick of the Las Vegas Raiders, but did not quite work out. They did not pick up that 5th-year option, and he has now moved on here to Pittsburgh. We'll see him a little bit later on as he is battling for the starting spot, but likely Justin Fields' spot to lose unless he just falls apart here in this final preseason game. They're going to start on the ground. A huge lane opens up, and that's going to be Dale Gilmore filling it in the 2nd level, and that's Marlon Hoskins, former Kansas City Chiefs draft pick, on the carry as he was traded over to Pittsburgh during last year's preseason. Now, first down to the 43, and this is the dress rehearsal, so we're going to see a lot of starters on each side of the ball for each team, as Hoskins contained that time just a 1-yard gain. But we also are going to play some key reserves that are battling for a roster spot, as Fields his first drop back, a quick check down as he gets that to his man, and that'll be a 7-yard gain to the 50. George Pickens still the top receiver with this Steelers team as we're now into the 2029 season. Fields out there empty on 3rd and short as he will throw for a man that's going to be incomplete. Great play there by Nathan Scruggs, our X-Factor corner, now in his 4th season, as he gets down there and forces the incompletion, drawing it free. One of our 90 overall cornerbacks, along with Terrion Arnold, now his 2nd season as a Snowhawk after signing in free agency. And a very good punt there from Pittsburgh, pinning it back to the 11-yard line. And there's Lucas McDonald making his preseason debut. As we said, an MVP candidate after a career-high season last year, where he threw for over 40 touchdown passes, less than 10 interceptions, and he was our 2nd leading rusher with over 600 yards and a handful of touchdowns on the ground as well. And we'll see how he starts here in this year 6 season. The former first-round pick out of Georgia Tech will start a give there for Dwayne Gordon. Going to try and get him going, but he does lose 1. Now 2nd and 11 backed up a little bit. And we will fake it. And that time, TJ Watt breaking in for the sack. Now the longtime Pittsburgh Steeler among their sack leaders all time. And Lucas McDonald, welcome to year 6. As he is brought down for the hard hit, the sack. And we're now not much breathing room here. 3rd and 16 from his own end zone. We'll just dump that off as Dwayne Gordon cannot turn the corner and find any space. Just a 2-yard gain on the play as we'll punt here from our own end zone. Again, that's DJ Rubin, the undrafted free agent out of North Carolina. And he gets that off. Going to be returned there from the 47, or fair caught there at the 48 rather, as Justin Fields and the offense back out onto the field. We're going to pick up the simming pace in this game. Probably finish out this first quarter and maybe pick up another drive aside in the 2nd, 3rd and 1. And Pittsburgh does get the conversion now deep into Salt Lake City territory. 19 yards for Pat Freiermuth, one of the best tight ends in the game. And then he gets another one there for 11 inside the 10 now, 1st and goal. And the Steelers get 5 yards for George Pickens, 2nd and goal at the goal line. And Marlon Hoskins does find pay dirt. And we'll see if our offense can answer. See if Lucas McDonald can find some rhythm. He gets 20 yards there for Eddie Matthews. Had a touchdown in the last game. 4 yards there for Dwayne Gordon, the running back. And then we get 12 yards from Matthews, really coming alive in this preseason as we do go incomplete there. Now the first play here to start the 2nd quarter. Another 10 yards for Matthews. Now 3 catches on this drive. And then we get a penalty there against Richard Thomas, undrafted free agent, battling for a roster spot, more than likely going to be on the practice squad. And then Joey Sykes, another UDFA, does get another penalty. So 1st and 25 at the 25. We get 13 for Jerry Hardison, 5th round pick from UGA, and then 8 yards for Drew Collins. So a 3rd and 5. Can we convert? We get 5 yards for Eddie Matthews. 1st and goal now at the 1, as we just barely get the conversion. And then a touchdown pass there for Roosevelt Howell, our big frame tight end, the rookie out of Ohio State. And now Pittsburgh back out there starting at the 30 with 6:29 left in the half. We'll watch one more drive aside, probably going to bring us into halftime. They go for the ground game again. And again, that's Dale Gilmore going downhill, making the stop from his safety position. Salt Lake City showing pressure there up on the line with Zaven Collins and Tashawn Gross. As Collins does blitz underneath there, Fields finds a man, as he'll be stopped after a 6-yard gain. 3rd and 1 now at the 39. Fields with 2 backs back there as they do go for the ground game, and that's going to be a tackle from Dom Gilmore. He stood out last preseason, but would go on to get injured early on, would not really play much throughout the year, and this time making really his first big play of the preseason, disengaging from a block and making a stop against the run, as it's really him versus Kyle Calhoun, who had those 2 sacks in week 1, as they're battling for that backup left end spot on the defensive line. And now a fair catch at the 17, as we'll start inside our own 20. Lucas McDonald led a touchdown drive last time out, a touchdown pass to rookie Roosevelt Howell. Also, Eddie Matthews was getting going at the bottom of the screen. The 6'6" receiver out of Oklahoma State, now in his 3rd year. We go play action off the start down the field as McDonald finds Drew Collins. What a pitching catch there, as Collins takes that for 22. Collins had 5 catches, 45 yards, and a touchdown catch last week, as he's trying to assert himself into our slot position. That time at the feet of Roosevelt Howell, incomplete. 4:04 now left in the first half. McDonald from the shotgun, man in motion. That's Jerry Hardison, the 99 speed receiver. As he was breaking over the middle of the field, thought we were going to get it to him underneath, but again, Lucas McDonald takes a sack. That's Sims getting home, and he also had some help. Now 3rd and very long for Salt Lake City. McDonald out there empty. 4-man rush for Pittsburgh. McDonald going to try and step up and run, has some space, but going to be caught there short of the line to gain. Does get 11 on the scamper, but more than likely going to bring on the punt, as we're out here again. DJ Rubin from the 43-yard line. A little hesitation there. They had a chance to maybe go for the block, but Rubin, good recovery, as that bounces at the 3-yard line into the end zone. And now 2:46 remaining for Pittsburgh. Tie game here, and we'll go back to the simulation and see if our defense can hang strong here down the stretch. And Dom Gilmore gets a sack after that run stop, as he is making his case there against Kyle Calhoun. Now 3rd and 16, and they do not get the conversion. So we're going to have a 2-minute drill here, as we get 14 yards for Eddie Matthews, 12 yards for Will Nichols, running back, and then we turn it over there. Terrell Rich, a young safety, gets the interception on Lucas McDonald, and better for him to get it out of the way now than in week 1. And now Pittsburgh, a late drive here, but Dom Gilmore, another sack, make it 2 on as many drives. And then Taylor Goddard getting in on the action, last year's Defensive Rookie of the Year with 14 sacks, his first appearance in the preseason, and then he gets another one, as I thought he did. It showed that he did, but then Pittsburgh now inside the red zone. What happened there? Another glitch, but Dom Gilmore and Taylor Goddard a sack. 3rd and 6 now at the 24, and they get a 1st down, but that does take us into halftime, as we are all knotted up 7 apiece here, and Salt Lake City is going to start with the ball. And we'll just stick here with the simulation. Dwayne Gordon, 6 yards on the ground. 2nd and 4, we get 11 yards there for Roosevelt Howell, his 3rd catch of the day, I believe. 7-yard rush there for McDonald. 1 yard there on the ground for Gordon. Now 3rd and 2, and we go backwards. -3 from Manny Reynolds at the 49, and we go for the punt there. I thought we might go for it around midfield, but we go for the punt instead. Now Pittsburgh back with it. Fields and the starters still out on the field for the Steelers here. 2nd and 10, and now make it 3rd and 10 after an incompletion. And then they get 15 yards there for Thaddeus Frazier, the number 2 behind George Pickens, 85 overall. Now 2nd and 3, and they go incomplete. So another 3rd down, and we do not get the stop again, as they're at the 36. Now 12 yards for Trey Tucker, as he's the number 3 receiver on this team. 2nd and 7, and they get a 21-yard touchdown there for Trey Tucker. And the Steelers are now on top here, and we're going to go back to the slow sim, as we'll get our last look here at Lucas McDonald. But before that, we'll get a look at the kick return team here. Hopefully we get Hardison on a return, so he can showcase that speed, and that is him with it, as he will break there past the 30-yard line to the 34. So another promising return there from Jerry Hardison, and hopefully we see a lot more of those to come in the regular season. But Lucas McDonald probably just going to finish out the 3rd quarter and then we'll go to our reserves that were planned for this game. First down here, down 7 now. See if he can lead a little 2-minute drill into the end of the quarters. We got 5 there for number 11, Jerry Hardison, fresh off that kick return, and now makes another catch. I think now 2 in this game, or maybe 3, as we head towards the minute mark of this third quarter. McDonald takes the snap. Rolling to the right and going to take a big hit there again, met by TJ Watt and Sims as they team up for another one. And now heading towards the end of the third quarter, now hit the 30-second mark. And McDonald has been sacked a few times in this game, picked off, but you want to get those out of the way here as he'll tuck it and run this time past the 50, and he'll slide down to the 48 there, an 18-yard scramble. Down to the final seconds here. This might take us into the end unless he calls one more snap, which he does not. So 14-7 Pittsburgh heading into the final quarter of this year 6 preseason. Like I said, I think McDonald, most of our starters are going to now be off the field. So we're going to turn to our reserves and see if Chris Woodard, the backup quarterback competition, heating up as he's trying to beat out Sam Darnold. But we saw enough, I think, of Sam Darnold in that Week 2 game to just give him that backup spot. As Chris Woodard, though, going to try and salvage at least a roster spot, as it's not guaranteed for us to keep 3 quarterbacks, as he does take the snap here to start the fourth quarter. Quick one over the middle as he has the tight end Cummings, the rookie out of North Texas there. Alan Cummings makes the first down catch as we start this fourth quarter off on a high note. And now Woodard again takes the snap. Quick decisive throw there underneath again for Cummings. That one for 5. 2nd and 5 at the 31. Manny Reynolds the back. As we are going to go for another pass here. Woodard rolling to the left. And I don't know why you just don't run ahead on that one. So much space in front of you. But he instead resets and throws to the sideline again. Gets Cummings. Now 3 catches on 3 plays, which sets up a 3rd and 3. They send pressure as Woodard will check it off there to Manny Reynolds. He cannot break through the tackle, though, as we're stopped short. That's Lonnie Hart, linebacker out of Michigan, now in his 3rd year. And we are going to go for it here on 4th and 2. As we'll go for the ground game there. Manny Reynolds does find the lane and gets head for the first down. Fresh set now at the 26-yard line. As we head towards the 5-minute mark of this fourth quarter, another give there for Reynolds, and he gets 2. Stacking the line this time, 3 tight ends. As we fake it to Reynolds, Woodard takes a big hit, but does get rid of it before the sack. So incomplete there, and they're going to bring up a 3rd and 8 here at the 24-yard line. I think that's Sean James now the back there to the right of Woodard. Acquired him last year in a trade with the New York Jets. As Woodard going to be sacked again. That's Sims breaking through. And now the 4th sack of the day for Pittsburgh, as their defensive line is humming. So we do eventually have to settle for now a 49-yard field goal attempt. Todd Hayes from the right hash as that one up. And that one is good. So a 14-10 game here. We still need a touchdown to break this deficit, but hopefully we can at least hold them to a field goal or less and keep it a 1-possession game, as now Pittsburgh on the return, as we do get the stop there at the 30-yard line. And now we'll see Darren Anderson for the first time. As I said, former first-round pick out of Cincinnati, the top quarterback selected back in our year 1 offseason. Spent the last 4 years with the Las Vegas Raiders, but they elected not to pick up that 5th-year option, and he now has a change of scenery here in Pittsburgh, trying to beat out Justin Fields. And he will keep it there, but going to be hit hard, and that's a big tackle by Darius Hurd. Have not heard his name at all this preseason so far. A low-risk 1-year signing during free agency as he's trying to earn a roster spot. And again there, Anderson going to be hit hard, and that's Kyle Calhoun, now his 3rd sack of the season. He saw what Dom Gilmore did earlier, and he said, I have to answer and get another one. Now his 3rd sack, I think, leading the team, as Gilmore with 2 of his own in this game. Might have to just keep both of them on the 53-man roster. Now 3rd and a mile is Anderson trying to set up a screen and going to be rushed quickly that time. Has to just throw it at the feet of his intended target. So just a disaster drive there for Darren Anderson, and the Steelers now 2:30 remaining in this game. Salt Lake City needs a touchdown, a fair catch, as we'll take over at the 34, and Chris Woodard needs to take this team 66 yards to pay dirt and a victory to close out this year 6 preseason. Reynolds still the back here, as we are going to throw it. Woodard near sideline, and he has a man open. That's caught for 5. That's the UDFA Verdon, who had a 3-yard touchdown in the last game. 2nd and 5 now at the 44-man rush for Pittsburgh. Another quick one does sail past Verdon. Only 5'9", so you got to throw that one a little bit lower. Maybe Woodard, accustomed to a lot of the taller targets we have on this team. A lot of our guys 6'3" or bigger. As we're trying to set up a screen, we'll take a huge hit which will set up a 4th down. Again, that is Sims just wreaking havoc on our offensive line. He's had like 3 sacks, 3 quarterback hits, and now 4th and 5, pretty much do or die, although we still do have all our timeouts. If we don't get the conversion here, Woodard, time to throw, does fire, and that's caught by Verdon again as he breaks the first tackle up the sideline now, and that one goes for a 33-yard gain, a huge conversion on 4th down to keep our pulse as we now head towards the 2-minute warning, now 2:10, and some fresh life for Salt Lake City. Verdon, I'm not sure how he caught that one, and then made some happen after the catch, and we go right back to him, this time for 17, as he makes the grab on the comeback, and we hit the 2-minute warning, so that's 2 big catches from Verdon, really making himself known here in the final stages of preseason play. I don't know if he's going to warrant a roster spot, but definitely looking like a practice squad guy. Now 1st down at the 10, 2 minutes left in the final week of preseason. Delay give there for Manny Reynolds, finds the lane, and Manny Reynolds will dive ahead, breaking the plane and finding pay dirt for the touchdown, and our Snowhawks take the late lead here. It's now going to be a 17-14 game pending the extra point, but still plenty of time for Pittsburgh. 1:56 remaining, all their timeouts, but let's just celebrate what just happened as Chris Woodard, ice in his veins here to lead this late go-ahead drive. And that's the type of thing you want to see in the preseason, the type of characteristics we want to see. So maybe we do keep 3 quarterbacks because he has been a very important, integral piece of our team, as our backup quarterback pretty much over the whole duration. A 6-play, 66-yard drive, just 31 seconds off the clock as we are now back on top. 1:56 left here in the final week of preseason play. And of course, after this game, we're going to get to our preseason stats, see who stood out on paper, and then get to the 53-man roster and make our final cuts as we finalize our Week 1 roster for this Year 6 season, our Super Bowl defending season, and the final run of this Salt Lake City Snowhawks expansion franchise. Now, Darren Anderson, a chance to really, show something here as there not much happened on that first drive, and this time incomplete over the middle. Cottrell Clark in on the coverage, probably going to be our 4th cornerback on the depth chart again this season, as Anderson there, his first completion, finds a man in stride, and that's a nice gain for 16. Now directly under center goes Anderson, 80 seconds left in this game. Anderson over the middle, that's right into the hands of Seth Phillips. You got to pick that one off, and I guess that's why he plays linebacker, not tight end. My goodness, that was the game right there, as Phillips trying to earn a roster spot as well. Anderson now near sideline as that one goes incomplete. 3rd down, 1:14 left. Pittsburgh at the 47, backtracking, now rolling to the right, resetting and just throwing it away is Darren Anderson. Now 4th and 10 faced by the Pittsburgh Steelers, pretty much do or die. Although, like I said with us, they still do have all their timeouts to stop the clock if we get the ball back. Now Anderson from the pocket going to throw down the field, and that will be incomplete. I think Kenny Beekman, the 5th-round pick out of Georgia, in on the coverage. As now just 63 seconds remaining, as we'll just probably run our way out of this one. Pittsburgh very stacked there on the line. Got like 7 guys up on the line of scrimmage as we go. Sean James, and an opening opens up for him as he takes that for 9, and Pittsburgh calls their first timeout. Less than a minute now left in the Year 6 preseason, and now Manny Reynolds will get the call, and he'll take that ahead for 3. And now with that, we'll take to the victory formation. Chris Woodard, now in his 4th season with the Snowhawks, as he has served as our backup quarterback since being drafted in the 5th round out of Florida State. And that is going to do it here in the Year 6 preseason, folks. A great late drive there, led by Chris Woodard. Maybe, what he needed to keep his spot on this 53-man roster. Pittsburgh, we give them their first loss in the preseason, as it's likely going to be Justin Fields yet again leading the charge for them, as they're now onto a new head coach, a new regime there for the first time in decades. Lucas McDonald had to get out some growing pains here early on, some kinks, after it's been quite a while since he's seen the field. Of course, his debut, but he's an MVP candidate this year, maybe the best team he's had around him, as we're set to repeat, hopefully, as Super Bowl champions. Verdon, what an effort there on that last drive, 2 or 3 catches, and he just stood out so much there, as we're going to finish this preseason at 2-1, and it's now time to look at some stats and make the tough choices here as we make our final preseason cuts. Before we get there, though, let's run down our player stats here, starting with quarterbacks. Lucas McDonald in that one game went 15 for 18, very clean game, minus that interception. Did have that touchdown pass, I believe, to Eddie Matthews, and completed 83%, was sacked 3 times, but that was with mostly reserved offensive linemen after. Chris Woodard, 13 for 22, 1 touchdown in the preseason, completed 59%, and had that late go-ahead touchdown drive to give us that victory in the final week. And Sam Darnold 12 for 15 in that week 2 performance, 2 touchdown passes, and he was just slinging it all over the place. Looked like he could be a starter, but for all intents and purposes going to be the backup here to Lucas McDonald to start this year 6 season. And Rashawn Rice went 1 for 9, a performance that's going to live in infamy as he threw for only 2 yards, completed 11%. We're going to forget about him. Manny Reynolds led our team with 40 rushing yards, had a touchdown, 36 rushing yards there for Lucas McDonald. 12 for 32 was Dwayne Gordon, only 2.7 yards per clip. So I don't know if he did enough to justify putting him over Manny Reynolds on the depth chart. Will Nichols, 4 for 19. He's probably going to be our second pass catching back behind Vince Willis. And then we have Sean James down here, 2 for 13, had that nice 9-yard run towards the end of that last game. Eddie Matthews, 7 catches for 88 yards, a touchdown. Drew Collins, 7 for 76, also a touchdown. Roosevelt Howell, 6 for 69, a touchdown. And Aaron Verdon, 5'8", 183 out of LSU, had 4 catches, 59 yards, a touchdown. And pretty much all that production on that final drive in that last game. Alan Cummings, 6 for 44. I'm not sure if he's going to make the roster. Jerry Harrison, 2 for 18, but Cummings definitely a practice squad guy, if not on the 53-man roster. And looking at the offensive line, Joey Bost, who we selected 51st overall, played the most snaps, over 100 there, only allowed 1 sack, and he's already had 2 player upgrades over the course of this preseason. Joey Sykes, an undrafted free agent, 79 downs, played only 1 sack allowed. Seth Rosenthal, our backup center, played 66 snaps, no sacks allowed. Colton Miller allowed 1 sack on 54 snaps. Richard Thomas, we saw him jarred it up with Rashawn Rice at one point, allowed 2 sacks on just 51 snaps. He was really competing with John Cash, who allowed no sacks on just 5 fewer snaps played. Evan Burnham, left tackle, left guard type of guy. Ike McConnell, who did not play much, but did allow a sack in limited snaps. And defensively, leading our team in tackles was Dakota Michaels, second-year man, former first-round pick. Dale Gilmore, another defensive back with 15. And Jamal Hill, 11 tackles. Seth Phillips, Dom Gilmore, Damian Simmons each had 8 leading in tackles for loss. We had 3 from LeBron Brown, the rookie out of Alabama, 3rd-round pick. 3 from 5th-round pick Cam Graham. 3 from Kyle Calhoun, who also had 3 sacks, which led our team. Alfonso Truman had 3 TFLs, a sack and a half, 2 TFLs from Braylon Trice and Corey Wilson, who really stood out, especially in that first game. Now looking at sacks, of course, Calhoun had 3, LeBron Brown 2.5, and then 1.5 from Graham, Truman, Gilmore, and then 1 from Dale Gilmore to Sean Gross. Taylor Goddard and a half sack from Corey Wilson and Zaven Collins. 1 interception from Dakota Michaels, 1 from Steve McCain, which I actually don't even remember happening. Pass deflections, just 1 from a few guys. Forced fumbles, we had 1 from Kyle Calhoun. And now looking at kicking, not much to show for our efforts here. Todd Hayes was 1 for 2, as was Will Reichard. And then punting, Logan Cook, 5 for 239. DJ Rubin, a very good showing as well. 5 for 247, had that 1 inside the 10 in one of those games. Kick returns, Jerry Harrison just 2, but he had a long of 30 and averaged 27.5 per. A very good mark there. Had a punt return for 10 yards. Sean James, a 13-yard punt return. And now let's get into the tough stuff. Let's get into these roster cuts and finalize this 53-man. And without further ado, let's get into it. As we see here, the lowest rated players on the roster: Drew Winkler and UDFA from last year. Aaron Verdon, we just saw him come on strong there in that last game. Alex Porter, another UDFA we brought in this past cycle. Corey Wilson made some impact, especially there in week 1 of the preseason. Cam Graham ended with, 2.5 sacks. John Cash, Alan Cummings, that 7th-round pick with hidden development. Damian Simmons vying for a roster spot at linebacker. Rashawn Parson, no catches for the UDFA out of Cal, but might still end up on the practice squad. But we will just go by position, and I think we know where to start. Rashawn Rice, it was a fun project bringing him in with the 99 throw power. A good runner, but just not cutting it. I think we actually will throw him on the practice squad. I thought he didn't have any eligibility remaining, but we will throw him on the practice squad. We'll see if he gets signed. Not sure how long he'll survive, but we will throw him on there, like the upside, and he might be a fun player maybe if he sticks into next preseason. Chris Woodard, we probably are going to keep as our quarterback 3. Sam Darnold, our backup, and Lucas McDonald now his 5th season as a starter. Already a Super Bowl ring to his credit, but he's now trying to get the individual hardware and get that MVP award here in the final season. At running back, Dwayne Gordon, the rookie, 4th-round pick. I'm not sure if I was quite impressed with him, albeit in a limited sample size. Will Nichols, probably more value on the roster as a pass-catching specialist to put behind Vince Willis as like a 3rd down type of guy. Sean James, I'm not sure if I saw enough from him either. I mean, he only had 2 carries though. But I do like Manny Reynolds. Will Nichols, I think, brings more value than someone like Dwayne Gordon and even Sean James. Willis and Bigsby definitely on the roster as our 1-2. And then Reynolds I like as our power back. And then Nichols probably our 4th back. And again, our number 2 3rd down back. So Dwayne Gordon, I think we're going to throw on the practice squad, even though I really liked him as a prospect. Didn't quite show much in a limited sample size, but all the traits are so good. I don't know if I want to take a risk of throwing him on the practice squad and him getting snatched up but I think he was definitely outplayed by Manny Reynolds, as both of them kind of similar running backs, elusive power back type of guys with good size, and both still very young, but that's a tough call. But Sean James, just kind of the odd man out here, acquired him in a trade with the New York Jets a few years back, where we sent them Jack Gibbons, but Sean James more on the roster as a kick return specialist, but we have a bunch of them at this point. So Sean James, the first cut here with no more practice squad eligibility. We're going to hold 5 running backs at this point, but I think we're going to end up with 4 because we also have a fullback to account for. And Charles Porter, Mr. Irrelevant, we drafted him with the final pick this past draft. Came back as a 75 overall blocking fullback. And we already have Brandon Davison on the roster, who I do believe is the highest rated fullback in all of football. But he is going to want more money coming off an expiring contract. I think $5 million or so is what he was looking for. Whereas Charles Porter, not much of a downgrade and definitely some development to go over 4 years. So we might just hang on to Charles Porter and maybe seek a trade for Brandon Davison. Maybe we can get like a 7th or a 6th round pick for who is considered to be the top fullback in football and has paved the way for our running game over our past 2 Super Bowl runs, although we only won one of those. And now looking at wide receiver, Alvarez and Marvin Harrison Jr., of course, our 1-2 punch. Alvarez was the Offensive Player of the Year last year, led the league in receiving yards and touchdowns, and finished just 3 receptions short of a triple crown. He's now up to superstar development. Drew Collins, we saw him come on strong there in the final couple games. He's going to be starting in the slot. Jerry Hardison, a 5th-round pick out of Georgia, 99 speed, and he's going to take the bulk of our kick returns this season and also our punt returns, I think, as well. Eddie Matthews led our team in receiving there in the preseason, 6'6", 209 with 93 speed, 95 acceleration, hoping he can develop into a very good red zone threat and jump ball type of guy. Dre Patton had some explosive plays as a kick returner last season. I'm not sure if we go 6 receivers there, though, especially with Hardison, a very good kick return specialist, but maybe we'll just roll with both of them, which leaves Rashawn Parson and Aaron Verdon. I think Verdon definitely going to throw to the practice squad based on that last game. And Rashawn Parson, I do like the skill set, and even though he didn't produce in the preseason, we'll throw him on the practice squad for now, assuming we have enough slots for him. And now going to tight end. A little bit tricky here because Cortez Bibbs, part of our inaugural draft class, tight end out of Penn State, and he has had his moments here and there, but mostly just buried on the depth chart. We have Roosevelt Howell, who's a strong number 2 now behind Mark Andrews, and then we also have Alan Cummings, the 7th-round pick with hidden development, and I think it's important to try and get him some reps, even though he's a lower-rated player at 66 overall. We want to take advantage of that hidden development while we have it, while he's still 23 years old, and try to develop him into a more complete tight end. So with that, I think Cortez Bibbs, we appreciate your service as one of our early draft picks in the franchise, but it is time to go as we now revamp the roster and influx to more youth into it. I mean, only 26, he might catch on with another team. He probably could be a tight end too on a team with a poor tight end situation. Now going to the offensive line, we don't really have a swing tackle right now. We have Colton Miller at left tackle, 80 overall, and at right tackle, Ike McConwu. And then after that, it was 3 UDFAs. We had Richard Thomas out of SMU, gave up 2 sacks. John Cash out of Kentucky. And at left tackle, the highest rated of the 3 was Joey Sykes. And I think he was our most balanced. So for now, we will just keep him on the roster. We're going to throw John Cash and Richard Thomas both to the practice squad for now, assuming we have enough spots for other guys. And now working into the interior, Joey Boss going to be our starter at right guard. Our first selection from the 2029 draft came all the way in the middle of the 2nd round. And then Sammy Russell, a young player we signed to a low-risk contract in free agency, going to be our backup right guard, probably our backup left guard as well, because Alex Porter and Evan Burnham, I think we'll throw both to the practice squad as well. The practice squad filling up, so we're maybe going to have to make some cuts to accommodate some of our players on defense, but Joey Sykes for now going to be our backup at left tackle. We'll throw Drew Winkler onto the practice squad. He impressed last preseason, didn't really see him too much this preseason, as I think that puts us at 8 offensive linemen if I'm not mistaken, but we are going to look to improve our swing tackle spot, maybe someone lurking there in free agency. Otherwise, we might have to roll with the experience there in the UDFA. And now at left end, we had Kyle Calhoun with 3 sacks leading the team. Really made the most of his opportunity with our team in the preseason. Also, Dom Gilmore came on very strong in that final week. So for now, I'll probably keep both of those guys behind Trayvon Walker. We'll throw Cam Graham to the practice squad, even though he impressed. Still at just 65 overall, some development to go as we try to develop him as part of our practice squad. Taylor Goddard, of course, our starter at right end. Braylon Trice going to be our number 3 in the pass rush rotation. And I think we could just cut Alfonso Truman. I think a sack and a half. He also had a decent preseason last year, but still not enough to crack that 53-man roster. And now 8 out of 18 in the stage to cut players. 10 cuts left to make, with some of those going to go to the practice squad at D-tackle. We have Caleb Patton and Randy Fisher, who are going to be our starters. We brought in Darius Hurd on a 1-year contract, didn't hear his name at all until that final week late in the game. 72 overall run stopper out of Auburn, 86 strength, 66 speed, 81 block shed, but the pass rushing moves very low. So we might just cut him and elect to go with someone like Corey Wilson. Even though he's much lower rated, his presence was mightily felt out there throughout the preseason. And same story there with LaRon Brown, who we were more impressed with. So we are going to roll with Brown as our third D tackle behind Fisher and Patton. Brown more of a pass rusher, I think, as a speed rush guy. And heard like Calhoun there at left end was one of those free agents we brought in on a low-risk one-year contract. But actually looking at the block shed, he probably could fill in as a nice run stopper there depth-wise, whereas Brown could be that third down guy instead. And we also have Lamarcus McLeod and Corey Wilson. So even though I did say I like keeping Wilson over Darius Hurd, I just like that block shed a lot for Darius Hurd, which might opt Wilson back to the practice squad. Lamarcus McLeod, someone we didn't even hear about there in the preseason, might end up cutting him, if not moving him to the practice squad. So we actually might keep Darius Hurd just with that 81 block shed. It's actually even higher than Randy Fisher there as our D tackle 2. Lamarcus McLeod, a UDFA, who does have higher overall than Corey Wilson. We'll just move on for now and see what else we're working with at other spots. Quay Walker and Zaven Collins, two guys there at the strong side. Zaven Collins is going to be more of an impact depth guy. Definitely going to rotate him into the linebacking core at middle linebacker. We have Jerry Sexton, Seth Phillips, and Damian Simmons battling for that backup spot. Neither really took a hold or really emerged as much as I wanted them to. Matthias Roman was a UDFA. Did not hear his name called at all. We'll move on for now. And at right outside linebacker, we have Tashawn Gross and Jamal Hill. So I'm not really sure how to play it here at linebacker. We have 6 there between weak side linebacker and middle linebacker, and then make it just 8 total on the roster. So I think swing tackle and then maybe like a good backup linebacker we look to add in free agency. But Matthias Roman, I'm probably going to cut him just depending on how much spots we have left on the practice squad, which now brings us to cornerback. And of course, Nathan Scruggs, Terrion Arnold, both X-Factor guys. Probably the top cornerback tandem in the NFL, with Dakota Michaels, the second-year first-round pick, manning the slot. And then behind him, we brought in Jarvis Brownlee Jr. to maybe see if he can compete for the slot corner position behind Dakota Michaels, but didn't really have it. And then we have Catrell Clark, Devin Bruton, who we brought in on a late trade there prior to preseason. We just did a player-for-player swap, giving them Deontay Hilton, a kick return specialist. But Bruton, not really a scheme fit, and he didn't really bring it there in the preseason, which now leaves us just 8 spots to create. Steve McCain, definitely not a 53-man roster guy, might end up on the practice squad. And now at free safety, Jalen Thompson probably going to come back and be a backup, which leaves Stephen McKell, 5th-round pick out of Oregon last year, and also Kenny Beekman, as we're seeing if maybe we keep 5 or maybe just 4 safeties, because I don't think McKell did enough to crack the squad. We'll move him to the practice squad, though. And now looking at Kenny Beekman, also going to move him to the practice squad, which leaves us with 4 safeties and just 5 cornerbacks, not counting Steve McCain. So not many DBs on the roster. Maybe we got look to add another safety there as the third string at both strong safety and free safety, or maybe look to add a corner who can maybe play a little bit of everything. And now looking at kicker, Will Reichert is going to be the guy, 92 kick power, 93 kick accuracy, which leads to Todd Hayes now being cut because he has no more practice squad eligibility. And now looking at punter, we're probably going to throw DJ Rubin on the practice squad, as Logan Cook is going to be the guy one more season, which now leaves us with just 4 roster spots. It really comes down now. Corey Wilson, Damian Simmons, Lamarcus McLeod, Dwayne Gordon, Will Nichols. I mean, a lot of these guys are just going to go to the practice squad. But we were also going to look to add some depth guys to upgrade, maybe linebacker, safety like we were just talking about, and swing tackle as well. So I think at this point it's time to look at free agency and explore our options elsewhere.
And we're now here at the free agent market, seeing if we can scour any late additions who can make an impact on our team. We'll see here Josh Jacobs, the top guy available, still now a little bit older, but 81 overall, can definitely still contribute on an NFL team, as he was recently cut by the Green Bay Packers. Denzel Ward spent the preseason with the New England Patriots, but did not crack the roster despite being 81 overall. 80 overall here, 24 years old, is Matt Allison, was a starting corner for the Green Bay Packers, but off-field issues have forced him to now be cut from the team, as he's now a free agent. Some more veteran corners here, Jameel Dean, Carlton Davis III, and a linebacker, Bobby Okereke. I did see he was cut by the Giants, 33 years old, but I think he could play a very nice depth role on our team as a backup middle linebacker, which we definitely need behind Jerry Sexton. Some other guys here, Ty Algier, Robert Hunt, the top overall offensive lineman on the market, Michael Pittman Jr. He was cut by the Colts in free agency and has not ended up on a roster at this point. And now going by position I saw at quarterback, Jared Goff is on the market, 34 years old, 77 overall. You would think he could find maybe a starting spot at this point, but not the case. As we go down a little bit more, Rashawn Rice is the top quarterback on a practice squad right now, so he is at risk of maybe getting snatched up and signed to a team's 53-man roster. We saw Josh Jacobs here, the top running back on the market. We'll see if he's signed after this week. Jonathan Taylor, a free agent. DeAndre Swift, I saw was cut as well. Michael Pittman Jr. at wide receiver. At tight end, Mike Gesicki spent last year with the Kansas City Chiefs. Taylor Decker at left tackle is the highest rated guy. And at right tackle, we have Mike McGlinchey, Abraham Lucas. But we are going to go back to left tackle. We'll take a look here at Taylor Decker, 35 years old, former Ohio State Buckeye. Now about to enter his 14th year in the NFL if you can find a spot on a roster. And just looking at that well-rounded skill set, the experience, that's enough, I think, to see him and bring him in as our swing tackle. As I said, one of the additions we needed to make here in free agency. Taylor Decker, now very old, trying to get that ring, as he's more than likely in his final season. Now going over to defense, we're not really looking at any guys here in the front seven. Deron Payne, Bobby Brown III, former Salt Lake City Snowhawk. Going over to linebacker now, we have Kevin Knox, a 78 overall pass coverage linebacker. He would be a nice addition, I think, at middle linebacker. We said Bobby Okereke and Cody Barton. I think two of the guys we're looking at as we'll just compare them side by side. Barton does have better strength, but Okereke has the awareness, the tackling, hit power, block shed. So I think he's a better linebacker, better zone coverage and man coverage as well by quite a margin. So Bobby Okereke from Stanford coming back west a little bit from the Giants. If we do opt to go his way, really no upgrades there at right outside linebacker. So I think Bobby Okereke, another quick signing we're going to make here along with Taylor Decker. He still has very good speed at his age with good traits otherwise. And we needed a veteran linebacker as that mentor tag, so he can play as a mentor to some of our younger guys on the defense. And now we're looking at maybe a cornerback, a safety to add here. Denzel Ward would definitely be interesting. Matt Allison, Jamel Dean, Carlton Davis, 4 guys at 80 overall or higher. We have Michael Carter II, spent last year in Salt Lake City, as we now work down to the mid-70s or so. And now going over to safety, we have Tony Adams, our Darius Washington. No key players really at this point. At strong safety, we have Julian Blackman, who's more of a zone guy. We're looking for more of a hybrid type of safety. Is there anyone at corner who can play safety maybe? We'll start looking at strength. Khalil Benjamin on the Patriots practice squad, 74 overall, 88 speed, 85 zone coverage, but the man coverage is down. He does have good tackling traits in addition to that, entering his 3rd season, but the man coverage just does not complement the rest of the skill set all that greatly. And now looking at Jamel Dean, 83 man, 84 zone, with 72 tackle, 68 hit power, good awareness, play rec, and strength. And, he's a savvy veteran now, 10 years in the league, I think all with Tampa Bay to this point. And he is just very well-rounded, kind of what we're looking for, someone who can maybe take some snaps at safety at this point in his career, add some cornerback depth. And at 80 overall, he may be able to start for a team, but, these veterans, they're taking discounts here to come play for our Salt Lake City Snowhawks as they seek their first Super Bowl ring. And I think that is going to do it here in free agency, as we signed a few key guys I think that are going to fill good depth roles for us. Jamel Dean in the secondary, Bobby Okereke as a backup linebacker, and Taylor Decker as our swing tackle, which now forces us into a spot where we have to cut more players, but we're going to start with a trade, actually. I was trying to find a location for Brandon Davison, our fullback. Is between the Patriots and the Chargers. And then I remembered that our former offensive coordinator, Brian Callahan, is now the head coach here with the New England Patriots, and he was a big advocate in bringing in Brandon Davison to our offense. So we're going to send them an offer. Maybe if we can get just like a 6th-round pick back, I think we'll take that. A fair trade there, I think, for the top fullback in football, and that is accepted. Probably could have got more, but we're going to give him a discount as we trade with our former offensive coordinator, and we give them the top fullback in football, and hopefully he can make an impact to their offense and their running game. And now we have 6 players left to cut. We actually are going to go back to the practice squad real quick and make some space because we were already filled out with 12 players on the practice squad. So we're going to go ahead. We're going to cut Richard Thomas, gave up 2 sacks in the preseason. I mean, I like the traits, but just do not have space for him on the practice squad this year. We'll also go down and cut Alex Porter. His brother Charles made it as our fullback, but Alex Porter going to be cut into free agency as that fills up 2 more spots on the practice squad. I'm still undecided if we're going to keep all 5 running backs. We might just do that because Dwayne Gordon, I really like the skill set. Don't want to take the risk of him getting signed to a team. And Will Nichols showed out in the preseason, and our best pass catching back behind Vince Willis. I think we're set at receiver, tight end we're set. So this throws maybe Joey Sykes onto the practice squad. We need to just cut 2 more players, and I don't know if the talent here of Sykes warrants a spot, but we'll send him there just for the time being, as now I think that leaves us with 5 cuts we have to make after signing Taylor Decker, Bobby Okereke, and Jamel Dean, as we're now here at defensive tackle. And McLeod and Wilson, I would like to throw both of them on the practice squad, but that would then force us into a spot where we have to make one more cut, which I wouldn't mind doing. But I think Wilson we definitely like more than McLeod, because I think at this point we have settled on Darius Hurd as a reserve defensive tackle with a standout run-stopping ability. So Wilson we will throw to the practice squad, even though he did impress again in the preseason. Hopefully next year he is set for a spot on the 53-man roster. McLeod, we're going to have to wait on him. We might cut an offensive lineman to make space for him on the practice squad. But going over to linebacker, Quay Walker, Zaven Collins making the team. Jerry Sexton, of course, Bobby Okereke now part of this team. Matthias Roman will just cut him. Did not hear his name at all in the preseason. Brought him in as an undrafted free agent. And now at cornerback, I know we were going to make a cut there as well, as we're going to cut ties here with Steve McCain. He does have practice squad eligibility, but I'm not even sure when he was added to the team. I think the AI added him to our practice squad a couple years back, and he has since stuck around a little bit. But now, how many spots do we have left to make, as we have to cut just 2 more players, and I already know who they're going to be. So we're going to make 1 or 2 more spots available on the practice squad. One of the linebackers we definitely want to throw on there, and I think LaMarcus McLeod as well there at D tackle. So it comes down to Joey Sykes, John Cash, and Evan Burnham. Really just want to keep 1 or 2 of these guys, and they're all pretty even when it comes to athletic traits, strength, awareness as well. So it's going to come down to blocking ratings here for these 3 offensive linemen, and we'll see who makes the cut. So run blocking all even at 74, 75, 73, although Joey Sykes more of a finesse guy, which does fit our scheme. So I think by default, he might be the man we have to keep, even though those power ratings are very low. But pass blocking is the highest between the 3 guys, albeit a 61 pass block power rating, which is the lowest blocking rating of any player collectively here. John Cash, though, not looking impressive there, especially with that poor lead block and impact block. Even though we wanted Johnny Cash on the roster, I don't think it's going to happen this year. So we can now go back to defensive, or actually middle linebacker. It comes down to Seth Phillips and Damian Simmons. Neither really impressed to the level I was hoping for, as when I just kind of compare them side by side. Simmons has much better strength, better awareness, and play rec, although Phillips better tackling, better hit power, better block shed, better pursuit, although the coverage ratings are pretty even. But Phillips, 26 years old now, 2 years as a practice squad guy. We'll just throw him on the 53-man roster, put Damian Simmons back on the practice squad for another season, and hopefully next year he's ready to impress a little bit more in the preseason and make the 53-man roster. So now the last spot really comes down to LaMarcus McLeod or one of those linemen on the practice squad, and I think we'll just go ahead and keep the linemen. Actually, we already have a defensive tackle on the practice squad, and I have liked Evan Burnham over the course, who stood out last preseason, was solid this year, and Joey Sykes at left tackle fits our scheme, and I think there's more D tackles to go around. So LaMarcus McLeod, we do like the skill set, even though we didn't really hear his name called at all in the preseason either, but we will go ahead and cut him from the team, which now officially brings us to a 53-man roster. We are now set for year 6 after a very eventful preseason. I actually had some fun with it this year. Usually it's a little more strenuous putting this episode together, but I did enjoy what we put out on the field. A 2-1 record, and I think our Snowhawks are now ready to defend our Super Bowl championship and repeat as Super Bowl champions, as we're set to hoist the Lombardi Trophy, hopefully for the 2nd straight season. But this is where I'm going to leave you, folks. Thank you so much for watching. We are now officially into the regular season of year 6. We're going to start on Thursday Night Football against the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson, as they were the Super Bowl champions going back to year 1 of this franchise. Our Salt Lake City Snowhawks, the most recent Super Bowl champion, as this could be a preview of what's to come now, as we're up to Super Bowl 64, as our Snowhawks trying to repeat as champions would. Leave me some feedback, leave me some comments as we gear up for one final run of this Salt Lake City Snowhawks expansion franchise. Let me know what you want to see on the next Madden game, as we are going to get a new series up on the channel here momentarily, or after the conclusion of this season at least. But as always, everybody, it's been real, and be well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.